The latest college football playoff rankings are in, and here they are. Number 1, Georgia still on top. As of now, they'd face number 4, USC. Number 2, Michigan. They'd be playing number 3, TCU. Then you see at 5 through 10, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State, Clemson, and Kansas State. We welcome back our college football playoff rankings expert and our national college football writer, Dennis Dodd. Guys, not too much change as we expected on the top, but welcome to the top 4, USC. Dennis, what did they show the committee this weekend, allowing them to move up those spots?
Well, I think continuity through the whole season. They've played 4 ranked teams. They've lost once by 1 point on the road. They had that big win against the ranked Notre Dame, which was very impressive. Caleb Williams has emerged as the Heisman Trophy frontrunner, and they've got a defensive lineman who's a finalist for the Bednarik Award, the best defensive player in the country. So they could have potentially what Alabama had last year, the best offensive player, Bryce Young, and the best defensive player, Will Anderson Jr. I don't know what else you need to know about USC other than they've proven it to this point.
Yeah, USC has had a terrific season. Really just the loss to Utah. Well, Utah went for 2 after a late touchdown, which was a gutsy call. It worked. But now USC's defense is playing better. They're not elite, don't get me wrong, but they don't need to be because their offense is fantastic. Now they're going to get another shot at Utah on a neutral field this time instead of at Utah. And I'd like USC to win. But even if they lose, I think if they're out, if they lose, I think Ohio State is the backup. But winning, they're in for USC. And that's a great spot to be in Lincoln Riley's first year.
Well, you mentioned Ohio State there, Jerry. For the Buckeyes and Alabama, they're just on the outside looking in on that top 4. What needs to happen for either team to make it into the playoff, you think, Jerry?
Really, the only scenario is USC gets beat and Ohio State moves up. That's it. There's all 3 undefeated teams are locks right now, especially because TCU's Big 12 championship opponent is number 10 in these rankings. So even if TCU loses, this is a loss that the committee's going to be impressed with. They're not going to fall below Ohio State. So TCU is going to be in the playoff win or lose, which means, of course, that Kansas State's going to be in the Sugar Bowl win or lose. But USC is the only question mark at this point. Beat Utah, and they're in. Don't beat Utah, and Ohio State should move up.
Yeah, Jerry and I are in lockstep on this. We talked earlier in the week. I think those top 3 are locked in. TCU, even if they lose to Kansas State, has already beaten Kansas State, so they prove they can do that. USC with 2 losses, the only question is going to be if Ohio State moves up. I don't want to hear about Alabama, because if I hear about Alabama, then I'm going to bring up Tennessee, and Tennessee beat Alabama. And Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback right now, at least it's starting quarterback. So we're going down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. Those top 3 are locked in. I don't see any way they move out. This is one of the more, I don't know what to call it, boring CFPs going into the final weekend. If you look at the 5 championship games in the Power 5, it's kind of revenge of the nerds. All of them have at least 3 losses. They're not all prohibitive favorites, but they're, I think I figured it out, 43.5 points, cumulative underdogs in these games, about 8.7 points per game. So we can talk about what might happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, LSU took a few steps back, dropping down to 14. They're still headed to Atlanta this weekend to take on Georgia in the SEC championship game, but this is not a get-right game in the sense that it's going to be easy for LSU. No, they need to get right, Dennis, as in they need to handle their business if they even want to sniff the playoffs.
Yeah, LSU's out of it. I mean, let's not try to make a case for LSU. When they didn't show up at Texas A&M, I think that was really disappointing to Brian Kelly and Tigers everywhere, because I thought they would manhandle, well, at least beat a Texas A&M team that looked like it had thrown in the towel for the season. And look, credit to the Aggies for coming out. And so LSU at this point isn't who we thought they were. They've had a great season. They're playing for the SEC championship. They could win it, but there's no case to be made for LSU. We'll see Saturday, but Georgia should handle LSU in a game that was a lot sexier than it was last Saturday night.
Yeah, LSU really damaged themselves with that loss, and now this game goes from something where you wonder maybe could LSU pull it off. Do you think, nah, this is a tune-up for Georgia right now as they get ready for the playoff. LSU got beat badly in the rankings, down so far that they can't even play in the New Year's Six now unless they win this game and get to go to the Sugar Bowl. So just 2 weeks changed all of that for LSU. And that's, a shame for the way they played most of this season. But, now that the SEC championship game is only marginally more attractive than, say, the Big Ten game where my nerds will try and knock out Michigan.
Come on, don't knock your Purdue guys, your Boilermakers like that. You can watch the SEC championship game on CBS. But guys, there's a lot of movement with these rankings, and that's allowed Michigan and TCU moving up respectively to second and third before their own conference championship games. Jerry, is there any concern what's coming up next for these teams with a possible chance they would drop out of the top four, particularly with the loss?
No, for Michigan and TCU, no. They're locked in. They're really playing for seed among the top four right now. So, TCU's got an opponent. They gave them a really good game the first time. They had to come from behind to beat Kansas State, and they did. So, and Michigan has got a team that's got nothing to lose, and a team with a history of winning games like this completely against expectations. So, but I expect Michigan to show up ready to play. I expect TCU to show up ready to play. Whether they win or not remains to be seen, but they're playing for seed, not selection.
Yeah, the Big Ten's decision, and it's coming, couldn't come quick enough to go into a single division. I think really quick within the next year, all the FBS conferences will get rid of divisions and be playing in one table, because consecutive Big Ten championship games of Michigan, Iowa, and Michigan, Purdue. Iowa and Purdue belong nowhere near this championship game. And I don't care if it's a Michigan-Ohio State rematch. I want to see that in the Big Ten championship game instead of this. This isn't going to test Michigan. They'll be able to hold people out once they get comfortably ahead. I don't think Blake Corum has to play at all. Let him get healthy for the playoff. TCU, Max Duggan, if he shows well, I think is going to get to New York with a Heisman invite. But again, as I mentioned before, they don't have anything to prove. They're one of 3 undefeateds. They've already beaten the team they're playing in the championship game, so they've proven they've beaten everybody put in front of them in the only conference that plays a true round robin. So these will be tune-ups. I suspect these coaches, if they get a chance, will get the regulars out of there soon if they get ahead, because you don't want to risk injury, because these games just don't look like they're going to be close.
Jerry, do you need to defend your Purdue team out there against what Dennis just said? Come on, man.
No, he's right. I mean, Purdue is a 17-point underdog. They should maybe a higher underdog. That's just the talent difference between Michigan and Purdue right now. And, Purdue might present some challenges with their offense, but, really Michigan is going to have to play down a little bit to give Purdue a chance to win this game. And Purdue's going to have to play very well. It's just, that's the way these games are. And, Purdue is playing for a spot in the Rose Bowl, and that's it. They've got nothing to lose. Jeff Brom will probably empty his bag of tricks. But, they're going to have to get on Michigan early and keep after them, because Michigan could turn it on at any moment.
Well, you enjoy yourself at the game there, Jerry, but let's get your final prediction before the final college football playoff rankings. Before championship games kick off, Jerry, who are in your top 4?
Yeah, I expect these top 4 teams to win, and that we'll have a Georgia USC semifinal 1 versus 4, and Michigan TCU 2 versus 3. And really, I think a pretty entertaining playoff from that.
Yeah, no suspense for me. I agree. Those 4 are going to win. As I said, we believe 3 of them are locked in. The only discussion comes if USC loses, and I'm not sure because those other 2 teams aren't playing. Alabama and Ohio State aren't playing. I'm not sure that they even get jumped. So not much drama. I think they get ready. And selfishly, I'm looking forward to seeing Michigan and TCU in the desert, because that's where I'm headed for the Fiesta Bowl.
All right, we love it. That's our Jerry Palm and Dennis Dodd breaking down the latest college football playoff rankings. Great stuff, guys. We appreciate you. And here are the odds to win the college football playoff from Caesar Sportsbook. Georgia's still the best odds, -160. They're followed by Michigan. Then that's where you find some real value on the board. You see Ohio State there at +1,000.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.